Hello, trumpet players. I have another book to share with you today, and this one is one of my more recent books. This is called Trumpet Chops Pro. And if you're familiar with my physical trumpet pyramid or the daily routines or the Chops Express, you'll be very familiar with what's going on inside this book. It's the same sort of routine. The biggest difference, the most superficial difference, that's the most obvious when you open it up, is this is only one routine. So I decided, due to the digital world, I was going to break the routines up this time in this book. So instead of having 7 routines in one book, it's one routine per book. So this is the routine that goes up to high C. And if you're familiar with the Chops Express, the pro level is the level for high C. And so that's the biggest difference. Now, this is therefore part of a series. There will be 7 books, and those 7 books are meant to replace the daily routines book. I wrote the daily routines book in the early 90s, used it myself. Originally, I wasn't going to use it myself, but it worked so well with the students, I started using it myself too. And then later, about 20 years later, I ended up writing a shorter version of the book, but 20 years had passed. So in the process of writing this shorter version, where the routines, that would be Chops Express, right? The routines in that book can all be done in under 15 minutes. But what I discovered in the process along the way is that there are tweaks that I've been applying to the routine that I can now put into the new routines. So basically, this is the new and improved daily routines book, but split up into 7 different books. All right? So, here's what we'll do real quick. We're going to go through each one of the parts of the routine and talk about what's different. Starting with the lip buzz. So the lip buzz is more, now the whole book, by the way, is more expansive. I use the expansion concept on almost every exercise. So the lip buzz is starting at G and expanding out from there. Same thing with the intervals in the lip buzz. It starts with scale-wise stuff, and at the end, you're lip buzzing 2 octaves. 2 octave skips. Then also, here's something I've added new. There's actually a written exercise for the mouthpiece placement. That way people forget less often to do it, because a lot of people have been forgetting the mouthpiece placement. And it's because it's just some text in the middle of the between the 2 exercises. Mouthpiece buzz, pretty much the same as the lip buzz. The long tones, now the long tones from group 3 up, the player level up, have always gone through all the keys, all 12 major keys. And we have that with this too, but what's different is that it's once again an expansion long tone. So the first one starts on G, goes up to A flat, and then down to C. And then it expands out from that so that the first note on the last one is low G. Low G. It goes up to high C sharp. And then down to, what is that, pedal G. Not pedal G. Oh, pedal C, I'm sorry. Goes down to pedal C. All right? Tonalization studies have not changed. That's exactly, the only thing that has changed is which ones we're doing. I think in the other book, we weren't doing all 20 of them at that point yet. And in this book we are. So I think that's a little bit of an improvement. Now the lip slurs have changed too, not much, but we're starting them on A, going on 1 and 2, going up to open, back to 1 and 2. Then we go 1 and 2 down to all 3, then back to 1 and 2, and then ending on open again. So that's a little different from what the other books have been. All right. Pedal tones. So if you've only used my daily routines book, then you'll notice that there aren't any pedal tones actually written. This pedal tone exercise is actually one of the best pedal tone exercises I've ever written. I enjoy it so much. Sometimes I sneak it into my other routines when I'm doing something different. So same thing with the articulation. So if you know my stuff, you know that my articulation tends to go through all 12 keys as well. And in this case, it's expanding again. So we're expanding not just the order of the slurs and tongue, but we're also expanding the range. So it starts off with E to D sharp on the first exercise. And the last exercise covers your entire range. Now the articulation interval stuff, once again, expands also. We also introduce a more of a that shape for the intervals. Instead of going bop 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 beep bop beep on the same note each side, it's actually fanning out. So, and it's really fun. I really enjoy doing that exercise. Something I've added to this series is what I call an articulation endurance etude. And the idea for that one is to try to make your tongue tired. So it's just bam, 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 over and over and over again. And also what I like to do with it is try to do the whole thing in one breath. I haven't actually made it yet all the way in one breath, but I push myself. I try to do that. So that's meant to work on your endurance. Let's see here. Now the triple tongue and double tongue is about the same. It's a little bit more difficult in this book than it would have been in the other book. So the end of the book, we have a couple of appendices. The first one tells you how to do a lip buzz. The second one tells you how to practice the tonalization studies. And finally, the third one is I have this thing that I do now called practice tests, where you video yourself while you're practicing, and you send it to me, or a link or something, and then I will watch it, and I will tell you things that you can do to make your practice more efficient and more beneficial. Okay? So what I have in the back of this book is 2 different people's practice tests on the material in this book. So you can, and the reason I included this is so that because I think a lot of times people have the same mistakes or the same things they could do better. So if you read what someone else has had problems with, you might say, oh yeah, maybe I should be doing it that way too. So anyway, that's the Trumpet Chops Pro book. I've written so many books now. I would like to think that I'm getting better at it. And this book is all my best stuff in one book. We're almost done with Trumpet Chops Player. I've been practicing that one quite a bit lately just to make sure that everything's okay before we publish it. And that should be coming out soon. We're gonna do the one range book first, and then shortly after that, the Chops Player book will come out. Now this one is already out, and when we're finished updating all these videos, there will be links beneath. So look for that. If you have any questions about this book, how it fits in, now you don't have to be doing the other books to make this book work for you. If you have a range up to high C, you'll benefit from this book. You won't benefit from it as much as you would if you were doing the other routines, you know, because my system, you change it up. You don't do the same routine every day. It's the same structure of a routine, but different routines. And you know what? That's great. Can you imagine that? Because one of the hardest parts of being a trumpet player is doing that same drag every day, right? Well, you're getting the same benefit every day when you use my books, but you can just use a different routine, and it's actually different. The only thing that's not really that much different is the tonalization studies. But even that you can make different by practicing a different kind of scale. All right, that's all the information I have for this book. If you are interested in more of my videos, this is an advertising video almost, so normally my videos aren't like this. So if you're interested in more stuff from me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Like this video if you liked it. And if you have questions, ask below. God bless you, and we'll see you on the next video.